into Nerd Initiative YouTube. What is going on, everyone? Ken M from the ODPH, Tom from Off the Cuff, and returning to the comic book edition of the Nerd Initiative Bullpen is the one and only Matt from Hops Geeks News. And you know, if he's back in the building, we have a big book to talk about. And what bigger comic is going on right now than from Boom Studios? Something is Killing the Children. So we're going to deep dive into Volume 1. So sit back, relax, grab a favorite beverage, and grab a good book. Because you know what? It's time to turn a page.
Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
And what is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast, but I'm also Nerd Initiative's comics editor-in-chief. To my left, your right, I don't even try this.
Yeah, I'm not Ken M. My name, coming at you live and direct straight from a folding chair in the ODPH studio. My name is Off the Cuff Tom, your pop culture connoisseur. Always a pleasure being here, Mr. Ken. And same thing, Nerd Initiative. Thank you for having me back. As always, a pleasure.
Absolutely. And returning, finally.
Look at mean and green.
Yes. Sporting that Nerd Initiative merchandise, folks, which we would definitely be throwing up the QR code all through tonight's episode, is the one and only Matt from Hops Geeks News. Matt, what is going on, fam?
Move over Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is the biggest return the world has seen in a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you'd say he kind of was the warm-up act for you because, I mean, obviously everybody's checking out Turn a Page, and you're finally here on the East Coast. It is great to have you back on the show, and we have a very, very big book to talk about that is generating a lot of buzz, and rightfully so. But before we get into that, I definitely want to get one plug out of the way because there is a book that's very close to our hearts here at the Nerd Initiative Bullpen, and that is Inferno Girl Red Book 2. The Kickstarter campaign is going on just for a couple more days.
In fact.
Yes. So if you have not signed up for whatever reason, above Tom on your screen is the QR code. We're going to be having that all night, so you can make sure you click on do not miss the copy because, trust me, it's going to be one of the biggest books of 2024.
It's hot.
Exactly. And like I say, if you need a quick QR code, we're even going to throw this one in for you because we definitely want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get this book. It is definitely generating a lot of buzz amongst the comics community. Like I say, Erica Durso, Matt Groom is put in some fantastic work on this, along with Igor Monti and Becca Carey. The team over there has really put something special together, and you definitely don't want to miss out on this any which way, shape, and or form. So, like I said, all through tonight's episode, the QR code will be up above Tom. So if you need to click on it and you got to just kind of see what kind of tier you want to sign up for, go right ahead and make sure you sign up because you definitely do not want to miss this book.
Yes, indeed. Set the infernal precedent.
Yes.
Set the infernal precedent.
Indeed. But we have another book to talk about that Matt brought up, and this is one that we have been huge fans here at Nerd Initiative about, and it is one of our personal favorites. And what else can we say? Something is Killing the Children by James Tynion and Werther Dell'Orta, Miguel Muerto. Matt, what compelled you to bring this to the table for us?
Man, it's, one of the hottest issues out there right now. It's the crisp fallness is in the air. Halloween decorations are starting to go up. And so what better way to also, I've been missing out. I've been watching you guys absolutely crush it while I've been moving across the country. And I was like, man, what is an absolutely good book to pick for this week? And Something is Killing the Children. It's perfect. Issue 33 drops tomorrow. And if people are, it's not too late to catch up. 33 issues is nothing. And so I figured why not kind of talk about issues 1 through 5 and kind of, for anybody who hasn't picked it up yet, give them a reason to before it's too late.
Oh, absolutely. Tom, what's your feelings on Something is Killing the Children before we even jump in?
Okay, so as everybody kind of knows here, I stay in a very niche genre of books. So when I saw this one come up on, my books from Boom, I was definitely apprehensive because one, killing and children, and then because this was now required reading for work, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. Again, going into it, as everybody kind of knows, or the majority of folks know, I haven't done horror or anything in about 10 years. Thank you, my wife. Shout out to her. So I'm always apprehensive on watching or reading or doing anything around her, because if she gets the semblance of an idea of something, all the lights are on all night and I can't sleep. So having the opportunity to read this today while she was at work, and like Matt said, and like the guy said, it is very easy to catch up on 33 issues, because I banged out 5 in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I was also cooking dinner. So it was definitely a good, easy read to do.
For me, this series does one style of storytelling better than I think anybody in the game right now.
What style is that?
And that is slow burn drama.
I was about to say that exact thing right there.
Honestly, James Tynion is killing it, no pun intended, with every book he does. But this is the one that, as he's building the story, you can really start getting invested in the characters, and you're not revealing anything right away. You really have to sit and read and process what is going on. And then when you get to the climax and to the point where it's like, okay, now everything's hitting the fan, you really get that sense of like, whoa, what in that emotional reaction, which is very tough to pull off, but it's something that has become a trademark for the series as time has gone on. And each time that we as fans dive into the series, and like I say, it's not a hard catch up if you're just jumping in now, because it's pretty soon after the whole SAG-AFTRA strike, it's going to really start picking up some steam, as it was picked up for Netflix as an option. It's going to be a perfect time to jump in and really see how this is done. And especially with taking something like the horror genre and really doing a unique twist on it, because it's not a typical setup by any means. And what is really frightening is not what the monsters that the hunters are fighting. It's really what is behind the hunters themselves. And I think that is just such an interesting dynamic as we get into this series. And really kicking off, too, it was really hidden about what was going on at first. And in case anybody's just tuning in now, we are going to be talking spoilers. You have been fair warned. So as we're jumping into the first part of this issue, it starts off as a normal, slumber party, I guess, where you have a bunch of boys are kind of sitting together and, just really kicking the breeze. But one decides to bring up truth or dare, and they keep going after this one boy named James. And James is describing his nightmares. And I thought this was such a unique thing that he's doing, because he's coming up with these elaborate things about how we go to the ravine in Archer Peak, Wisconsin. And when we went down there, some people didn't come back, and something was killing them and tearing them apart. And really giving this vivid imagery that as you're sitting there watching, you're going, what is this kid doing? Because everybody around him is just like, they're entranced by the stories, but I don't really feel that they were buying in. I mean, Matt, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I was behind the curve initially. I probably picked it up 15 issues in is when I finally started to get into this. And so it's very much in the beginning. It starts off kind of fast before eventually kind of slowing the pace down. But you're right. It's just a bunch of guys being dudes at a sleepover. They're truth or dare. They're kind of picking on James a little bit, whether he deserves it or not. It's just everybody, remember as kids, you'd always pick on that one friend of yours. And it
Guilty.
Yeah, we all did. I did it. We all did it.
Yeah,
how it
everybody's
was.
done it.
And
No, I was the one picked on.
well, we can tell. No, I'm just kidding. But one thing that one of my very first horror movies that I've ever gotten into was A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's what the vibe of this gives off, because just like in A Nightmare on Elm Street, only the kids can kind of see what's going on. The parents are kind of oblivious to it. Now the parents knew about what was going on in Nightmare versus this, but yeah, right from the get-go, you're very much like, all right, we're starting with some suspense when they go out into the woods. And that's just, James does a really great job of building suspense. That's one of the best things, and probably why he's out there crushing it in comic books right now, is because his ability to create suspense and capture you from page to page immediately.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tom, when you're seeing this unfold, and then when you turn out that the nightmares turn out to be him getting interrogated by the police, like, what's your reaction seeing this?
It was why, like, there should, here we go with all the jargon. Why are they interrogating a kid without his parents?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, because, I've watched way too much serial.
I've seen Ice-T on Law and Order.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun.
I mean, seriously, like, I just wanted to know why oh, sorry, that's a terrible Ice-T impression.
Yes,
but,
it is. We apologize
no,
for that.
No offense. He did a wonderful job last year at New York. Anyhow.
Yes, he did.
Anyhow, it was really surprising how they were just twisting the screws on the kid, and then to see the aftermath of all this that went down, and when he went to school the next day, and that had some really cool repercussions, and the whole principle, and then how. Anyway,
Well, because
I'm getting ahead of it.
No, because as you talked about, he gets interrogated and he has to return to school, and especially in small town USA, this is a horrific deal for anybody to process. And as he's going to school, he's walking in and he's seeing the pictures of the victims of the monsters, because at this point it's in double digits. I believe it's at 14 now.
I think at this point it was still 9 dead. 14 comes a little bit later, I believe, in issue 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Once we start getting more solid numbers. But at this point it was 9 confirmed.
But either way,
Confirmed missing.
the body count
5
is so
dead.
massive
Right.
that as he's getting to school, he's getting bullied because he's the only survivor. So he should know what's going on, and he can't explain what's happening.
No.
Because everybody he's trying to tell is like, yeah, they're monsters. Nobody believes him. And then there's just this horrific visuals that I didn't put up on the screen, but trust me when I say this. The one thing about this book is they don't hold back about the gore and the violence when it's needed. It's never forced.
Yeah, and I will give him that. Again, because of the whole me and being iffy about horror, it was done tactfully.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tactfully is one word, but smartly. Like, it wasn't gore for the sake of gore.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, what's your take on the gore, too, here, especially so early?
Yeah, again, you're intrigued, but you're right. There's not just senseless killing, especially with something sensitive like children dying. Right? Nobody wants to just jump in there and see kids of all things dying needlessly. But there is a purpose. There's something going on, and I think this really attributes to what Werther's doing, and his ability to pretty much it's like a grungy art style almost, which makes that gore sequences pop a little bit more at that, and you're just like kind of taken aback in a really good way.
Yeah, I mean, I think they handle it tastefully, just showing about like how really frightening this situation is. And as you're seeing, I mean, James is the only survivor that's seen this and is telling the tale, but nobody is really believing him. Mm-hmm. And as he's going to school, he's getting bullied because people are just so mad about the families and friends that they've lost, and he literally is getting blamed for it, and to the point where he has to talk with the principal, and the principal is like, if you wanted to fight back, you can. And he's like, I wouldn't blame you. And he's like, what can I really do? Like, I want to just try being normal.
Can we also talk about real quick, by the way, how messed up it is to make this kid who just went through a horrific sequence go back to school literally like the next day?
Yeah. That was one thing I was going to bring up later when we were like doing like the good and the bads, is they didn't establish like the time frame. So I was like saying, if this is next day, like this is some really messed
call
up
CPS.
Stuff. Yeah, like seriously, something's got to be done about this if this is next day. Because the way I took it is like this has been going on for like a week or so. Because just of how you're thinking about when you started at the slumber party to then being at the police to then going to back to school. And especially for having everybody get immediately all those pictures up, the flowers up, the memorials, it had to be some time going there. But like I agree with you, it was not cleared up. But when he comes out of school, this is where we see somebody that has definitely been such a standout character in this story and so many others, and that is the one and only Erica Slaughter.
So hot.
And when she comes in and she makes her appearance, like I say, when we first see her, she's coming out of the woods from killing a monster. And we have to remember that. And when we see her, she's getting a phone call from an organization, well, we know later on, is not exactly the most up and up, if you will. And that is the Order of St. George. But when we see her finally come to town, because she has Archer's Peak written on her hand, she does meet up with James and she literally turns out to be the only friend he has, because we now see her going and saying, like, listen, just tell me everything. And for him, Matt, what do you think is going through his mind that he finally has somebody to believe him now?
Well, yeah, it's exactly that, right? All he has been wanting to have this entire time is to be heard, like somebody to believe him. And so here comes Erica, who is one of the more, she belongs up there, with Ripley from Alien as far as like badass female characters, because
Absolutely.
she kicks so much ass in this entire run. And just having somebody to listen to, that's all you want. Anybody, it doesn't matter if you're James, it doesn't matter if you've gone through something, you just want somebody to listen, and she does. And so he's very drawn to her right away. He doesn't want to leave her side, while at the same time he shows a lot of bravery because he wants to help just as much as he wants somebody to listen.
Tom?
Hot, like, goth Buffy vibes. Like I definitely got that off of that. I got to type. I just enjoyed the fact that she is just no nonsense, but at the best thing, I don't think she was overbearing, realizing that there was a child who was distraught. Like she was like, she talked to them as if they were a person, not a kid.
She has a lot of compassion. Like she's very not one dimensional. She's very business. She wants to go out there, and she's strong and wants to be independent, but at the same time, she's very compassionate. And that's a standout for her. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing about her is she's a very multi-layered character.
Like an onion.
And there's so many levels to her.
Just onions.
And when you see it come to form here, because like I say, you see her from just killing a monster and now meeting with James and just taking him to a diner and really thinking like, okay, I want to interrogate him. I want to really make sure I understand what's going on here, because in her mind, she's being compassionate, but yet she's being precise about dissecting what exactly is out there. And when you see that little scene at the diner, it really kind of adds a little more to the budding friendship, almost like a mentor-mentoree type vibe that's going on, because James is finally now have a friend and he's willing to do whatever to not lose her like he's lost his other friends to the monster.
And if I can add on top of that, using the fact of a diner does have some really cool symbolism. And if you think about it, the diner, especially in small town, rural America, is pretty much the heart of certain towns and areas. So using that as a place of comfort to let the kid relax, to try and, get into his head is a really good idea. Because trust me, if anybody takes me to a diner and gives me a plate of gravy fries, I'm your best friend. I will tell you my deepest, darkest secrets. So to do this just as, as a warm blanket to get what we can out of him was a very smart idea. Plus, it's also somewhere familiar. It's nothing that's tied to the kid as far as, say, the school, or as cold, as disheartening as the police station was. It's somewhere that he knows and is comfortable at.
Absolutely. But while he's there, though, they do run into another character that's going to play a bigger role, and that is Tommy. And he is the restaurant owner, and he sees James and has a very negative reaction towards him because his sister is one of the missing victims, presumed dead, from whatever has been going around and killing the children. So when he's seeing...
he said the name.
When he's seeing Erica together, he definitely is coming off very standoffish. And, I mean, we do find out as the story progresses with him, his reasonings behind it, because what he says is, James is responsible for everything. Like, this is all made up. He did it to them. He's a serial killer. And to paraphrase, we're going to have to stop him. He's the problem. Meanwhile, Erica is trying to deflect it and just say, okay, let's map out what has happened. So this is where everybody's been going, and really does her due diligence about tracking down the monster. And when we see this, though, Tommy obviously understands something's wrong, and this is where the police come into play, because they have to really say, okay, there's something weird going on here. So when the sheriffs eventually track down Erica at her hotel, we do see this image, and this is one that was kind of brought up a little bit, but it's in full force, the octopus doll. So, Matt, when you're seeing this come to play in the true meaning behind this mysterious object, what is going through your head?
It's clever, man. Honestly, it's adding more to the story. It's intriguing because now you're like, okay, wait a second. This doll isn't just a doll. It's an actual spirit. It's got its own personality. It's got its own thing behind it. Now you want to know what's going on with that. And there's just so many things you want to peel back and just unravel this story, and you want it now. But of course, we're gonna work our way towards that, and you don't really know what's going on. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's intriguing to say the least.
Yeah, Tom.
I liked the idea. I think it definitely adds a fantastic layer. And I mean, just looking at the character, speaking of another particular character in the mystical realms of the comic books, I got very, even though it's orange, the character's name is Octo. Uh, Kind of lazy in my opinion, but that's just another thing. I got a very Indigo kind of vibe, from DC's Indigo and the House of Mystery,
Yeah.
but only orange.
Yeah, so as Erica is taken in for questioning, she is taking the upper hand on the sheriff that is there. And I like how she has developed this knack for flipping the questions onto the authorities because, I mean, obviously she has a little more insight to what is going on, but she doesn't tip her hand at any point.
Nope.
And Matt, when you're seeing this interrogation scene going on, like what is going through your head as you're seeing her turn the tables on the sheriff?
FTP. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, seriously though, it's a family friendly show. F the police is what I'm thinking. And it's again clever writing. It's she is such a strong character from the get go, and she obviously knows what's going on. And the cops are just you almost feel for the cops because they don't
Hmm.
have an explanation. So in this instance, they're really just trying to do their job, albeit, yeah, they went about it a little bit of wrong ways. It's, interrogating a child without his parents there. That's neither here nor there. But
Hmm.
they just want answers. Everybody at this point just wants answers. And she's almost being a little smug about it. And it's just kind of like,
Smut aloof.
yeah, like she's almost out of pocket at the same time as clever as she is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, Tom. What's your take on this?
I mean, I love the fact that when during the interrogation, she was just so smarmy, aloof, sarcastic. I mean, I could go on and probably do a bunch of other adjectives. But the fact that at some point the tables turned and instead of her interrogating them interrogating her, she started getting info out of them. Who's the smartest man in the room? The one that's getting the answers, the one that's giving the questions.
Yeah. And I think that does play into her character. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
completely, because when you're dealing with such a mysterious threat and you're the expert on it, you have to be very subtle about how you're getting your information because you obviously, for where the location is, she is definitely sticking out like a needle in a haystack. And you can definitely tell, like, she is somebody that the town is very weary of.
Wait a minute. There's not the Wisconsin doesn't make a ton of hot goth chicks.
Well, I would say not ones that are running around with machetes with blood on them, running through the streets and also trying
I think
to,
they mostly just hang out in Madison.
yeah. So they, like I say, they're trying to find their way and really kind of see what she's doing. But obviously, with her track record, and she's not being very subtle about what she's looking for because she is asking direct questions and more or less winds up getting released, which I thought was an interesting play because the sheriff, I think, was convinced during the interrogation that she knows what she's doing. I need to step back. And I thought when this moment happened, this was a really big point because this is the first time we've seen this.
I also think that it comes from the fact that she said, "Look, you're going to get a call. You're going to let me go. All right? Back the F up. I know what I'm doing. Put your tail between your legs. Let me do my job." So, yes, I agree with you that the cop realizes that, yes, she knows something else that's going on, but at the same time, if he's getting a call from up top, he does not want to mess with whatever chain is being rattled all the way down to his position.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, what do you think in this situation as well?
Yeah, I also took it as if he wants any answers, he kind of needs to follow her. So it's more of like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna let her do her thing. And as we see, he kind of just hangs back in the shadows and observes and gathers some information and kind of does his thing, which is really smart on his part because this is the best way to get information. She clearly knows there's something going on. He gets the phone call. All right, let's play the observe and report kind of deal.
So then when she's free, this does not sit well with Tommy of all people.
Wild card.
Because, yeah, which it was kind of alluded to that he does have a connection with the monster in the beginning, but it's never really kind of specified. And because there's a great panel shot of the monster standing over him, and you're not sure if the monster is going to go after him or not. But we then wind up seeing somebody else get kidnapped by the monster later.
Well, here's an interesting thought. Not that we have a basis off of it at this point, but going back to that particular scene where Tommy's outside of his car and the monster's hanging over him, he might possibly be, and I'm just going to theorize this because, again, I haven't gone past issue 5. He might be the only sibling of one of the victims at that point. And the monster's, seeing the aftermath of what he's done and see how it affects people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be. I mean, like I say, it's quite possible that you could see this.
Fred.
Yeah, you could see this play out. But it's a situation that, yeah, there's more going on with him. But once he sees that James is free, Erica's now free, Tommy decides to take matters into his own hands. Mm-hmm. And he does wind up acquiring a gun, which is really kind of tipping of what he is going to wind up doing, because he's even vowed if the police aren't going to do anything about it, I'm going to do something about it. Which makes just even for a messier situation, because, as we start progressing on with the issue, you start seeing that somebody else has been kidnapped, and Erica is sitting there trying to process what's going on. She has the plan figured out, and then James is sitting there trying to tag along, and she's saying, no, this is not for you. Nope. Like, I'm going to the ravine. I'm going to need a lot of weapons. And when this moment hits, I mean, Matt, when you're seeing, okay, we're finally at the crescendo for this, that she now knows where the monster is. She's gotten enough information. She can go attack. And she's having that final standoff, and she's going to get the weapons. What is going through your head?
I want to know what she's going to grab, because clearly she's killer. I want to see how she's going to work this, because you in your mind it's like, well, obviously you want to take guns, but no, she's got her swords, her knives, everything like that, and you're like, all right, now we're going to see her go to work. We've seen how smart she is when dealing with other people. Let's see how she can work in the field. And man, she puts on a show.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tom, what's going through your head too?
You need a montage, a motherfucking montage.
I need a
Honestly,
hero.
that's all I'm hearing when I'm reading this. You need a montage, a scary mask montage.
Well, this is actually coinciding too with the panel we up on the screen from issue 4, because this is the first time that we see her don the black mask of the Order of St. George. And this is kind of a big deal, because prior to, she's just been walking around somewhat normal. I mean, we did see a little glimpse of this when she came out of the woods in the issue 1, but there wasn't any kind of real clear-cut what is going on here. But this is when she's finally figured out, okay, what I need to do, how I need to do this, and she is winding up going to the ravine to go stop the monster, because she's tracked it down. And once she goes inside there, I mean, this is where I think everything really hits the fan, literally. Because when she's inside and she's telling James, stay out, like whatever you do, don't come in here. She walks into one of the most horrific scenes, and Duerta, I mean, his artwork, I mean, just in the scene, as gruesome and horrific as it is, it makes such an instant impact.
Very much.
I mean, when you're seeing that there's unfortunately these bodies just lying in a cave, just decimated. I mean, the series obviously holds nothing back, and it's not shown like in super close-ups, but you have enough imagery there that you can piece what's going on.
It's not like watching that first episode of Castlevania on Netflix where things were just too gruesome for the sake of being gruesome.
Yes.
It was a nice pull out. You understood what you were seeing in regards to the way that the anatomy of things were placed in particular ways and shapes and forms, that you knew what was going on, and you didn't need to know everything that was going on. It's the best way I can describe it.
No, I would say so too. I mean, Matt, what are you thinking when you're seeing this?
I feel it's almost a lost art in horror nowadays, which is people love to just almost do gore and torture for the sake of doing it for that shock value.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
what this comic does really well is they don't just do that. They make these moments hit and they have a purpose. And really when they come there, that's the shock. Like, dang, and it makes perfect sense. And it's very much like, oh yeah, there are real stakes. This is real stuff going on. This isn't just like a fun kids horror adventure. Like, no, this is legit. And that's something that they kind of bring us back to these basics, to the old timey, and they don't just do it just for the sake of creating a shock value on a panel.
And we don't get the reveals, as right up front. Like, yes, we saw the monster looming over Tommy, but it wasn't as horrific as now what we're going to talk about, upcoming fight sequence.
Yeah.
Where it was engorged, where it was, in badass mode, when it was, the big bad end guy, everybody get at 20s. It was just, again, smartly done. I mean, these are things we should be talking about at the end, but just saying.
No, well, I mean, it kind of tips away what's going to happen because you're finally walking in. It's like when you're playing a video game, you're finally walking in to see the final boss.
Yeah, you see that little save down in the bottom corner, and you go, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, pretty much. Because as you're walking in, she even makes a comment like just about like even the smell coming out of the cave and just like how just death is looming. And when you're seeing this play out too, you see that James is still outside of the cave this time, but somebody else has walked in with gun drawn.
Dickbag Danny.
Yep, and that is Tommy.
Or Tommy, excuse me.
Yep, and Tommy is sitting there, and Erica's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm sitting here stopping the killings. I'm going to be the hero." And she's like, "You have no idea what is behind you."
Good guy with the gun.
Yep. And sure enough, behind him is this huge monster, the one that has been haunting the town of Archer Peak since issue 1. And now you see that Erica is in there trying to fight it, but Tommy is sitting there and he's being very reluctant to buy in, and he actually fires a shot at Erica. He misses, and it winds up hitting Jim. I mean, when this moment hits, I mean, what is going through your mind, Matt?
Well, you knew something like this was coming because Tommy, again, he's that wild card. He doesn't take a second. He's very up in his feelings. He's very emotional. And yeah, it drives the story. You need somebody like that at this point because things are going too smoothly for Erica and the crew. And so you need this plot device, this antagonist. But again, though, it does
Speed bump.
Yeah, it doesn't make it hit any less. Like James, who has been very brave, he didn't have to be here. He survived the attack. He very much could have not gone down into this hole and everything with her, but he's trying to help her out, and now he's taking a bullet when he didn't have to at all.
Yeah.
I mean, just going off what Matt says, you saw it coming, especially when Erica said, "You can't be in there." And then on top of it, the kid says, "Why?" Because you're going to, feed the monster itself. Well, we find out that the monster is blind, number 1. 2, can smell blood. And 3, I'm assuming, grows due to fear.
Yeah. Well, he winds up a way to catch this because, I mean, that's one thing the children can see him, and it feeds off the fear. And it does play into, why the victims are the age they are. Because this is a monster that's keyed in on young fear. And it really adds another layer to the horror of what's going on. So now you have a wounded James, and you have the other victim that was taken in issue 3.
Yep.
And she's at the house. I believe her name is Bian.
Bian, yeah.
Yeah. And you see that now Tommy is sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. Erica is saying, "Listen, if you want to be a hero, get them out of here. We can at least save some lives today."
Right.
And she does not falter. She does not flinch. She is completely as calm as can be during this.
She's in work mode.
Well, I mean, that just goes to add to her character. Like, as weird as this sounds, I mean, this is just another day at the office. But she's, even as the emotional attachment that James has to her, she's not letting that getting away from the overall goal. Like, she is that focused on it. And even when Tommy is sitting there trying to argue, Erica does something that we don't know the ramifications at this time, but she winds up stabbing him in the neck with a certain item from the Order of St. George. So, Matt, when you're seeing this happen and now Tommy gets taken on a little trip to the home base, if you will, what is going through your mind?
I don't even know what to think at this point because then it's like, wait, what's happening now? And it's like this travel, and you're just kind of like, dang. It just when you thought you knew how the story was going to play out, we kind of add this moment, and you're just like taken aback. And I was very taken off guard because I didn't think that's how that was going to happen. I thought Tommy was going to get the kids out. She was going to fight, and that was going to be the end of it. Instead, she shows him what's going on, which is very clever to do and also dangerous for her to even do.
Mm-hmm. Tom?
As an avid Doctor Who fan, and the whole mind melding and everything you see in Star Trek as well, it's all timey-wimey. So to get that psychic download kind of idea, and now he should be able to see what's going on around him, it kind of made sense. It's like, yo, I'm trying to work. Here's what I'm doing. Now you're on the same level. Get your shit together.
Yeah, I thought
again, saw it coming.
Well, you know what? I did, but I didn't.
Now, I did also have fun with that whole boardroom scene, so we can talk about that in a second or two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're going to go back to that in just a second because I definitely want to dive into it because we go into where he's stabbed with the object from there. I believe it's Harlan Gold.
I believe so.
And he now sees the monster. He has now been exposed to the secret society of the Order of St. George. So she understands in the moment, if I'm going to save anybody, and this is what I thought made her a very strong character, with the amount of dead bodies that are there, she is still willing to risk her identity, her rank at the Order, and all things in between to save 2 lives. Which is so noble and so heroic.
Admirable.
Yeah. That she stabs him and now it says, here, welcome to my world. Do you understand what we're doing now? And at that moment, it comes together, albeit though, he gets held up because he sees his dead sister. And I was like, that's just more like emotional impact. And like I say, it's just something with Tynion's writing. You can't escape it, and even when you think that he's finally going to redeem himself, he's brought back down to where he started, and he's so grounded. And I just loved how they did this.
He got supersized on his oh shit sandwich.
Yeah, and it plays out. But like I say, he also saw the Order of St. George. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Tom, let's have you talk about this. Like, what is going through your head here?
So we see the board table. We're going to assume these are the higher ups. They also all had their little dolls, marionette, figures, very much looking like Scrump's variants from Lilo and Stitch. And I'm down with it. We see the monsters behind them, or the projections or emanations from them. But each of the members themselves all have masks. What I also found interesting is if you pay attention to it, and pick apart everything like I do, each of the different designs, aside from the colors of the masks, the teeth designs were different on each of them as well, all around the table. It wasn't that, the black was this, the blue was that, the green was this, the gold was that, so on and so forth. And I believe somewhere down the line in one of the other books, we learn exactly what the meaning of the masks are, but at this point, we don't know what exactly they are.
Matt, before I turn it over to you, I'm going to put up a book on the screen here. This is Book of Slaughter.
Yes, the spinoff.
Yep, this is a one-shot from Boom Studios. And if you really want a 101 about what the masks are and what they represent and the true history of the Order, this is a perfect book to pick up. And like I say, it's a very short story that ties into the overall story, but this really breaks everything down for you about what each mask represents. And it's just such a deep dive into the history of the Order. So I definitely want to make sure to mention that book as well. And like I say, the cover, Dan Mora. Also, Francis Manipal did one too. Like I say, the covers for this book are just amazing. Book of Slaughter. So that said, I mean, Matt, when you're seeing the different members of the Order come together in their dolls, like, what are you thinking at this point too?
It's almost kind of funny seeing like these intimidating characters with their mask, and then one has like a giraffe stuffed animal, and it's just kind of, it's intriguing, but at the same time, you can't help but kind of chuckle that this is some menacing society, and their power almost, you feel like, comes from these children's dolls. And it's just funny is the easiest way I can describe my thoughts at that time.
Yeah, I think it's just such an interesting twist because you have this very super secret organization and they're so serious and just everybody's so, focused on the goal. And then you see this table where everybody's got stuffed animals, even though there is something behind those animals, or puppets, I should say. But it's just such an interesting twist. It's like, okay, not everything here is on the up and up. And there's more factors that are playing into the overall picture.
What you want to say is irony of the fact that all this is going on with, you know, these menacing figures and these cute little dolls. But I think that the right word that we're looking for in this instance is dichotomy.
Yeah.
You know, how it's six of one, half dozen the other, both sides of the same coin. I think that's really where they hit home. Just in that, you know, one panel alone, that you're getting the idea of it.
So as it shifts back, Tommy finally gets the two lone survivors out for right now. Like, we don't know if James is going to live or die. And this is when Erica gets down to business and really just kind of steps up and is chainsaw in hand. And I love how when she went to the hardware store to go get the weaponry.
In the montage.
Yeah. She wanted the stuff, not the new stuff. I want the old stuff. The stuff that's going to tear everything apart and not hold up. Because she understands, like, to take out a monster of this size, she needs something that is not going to be too fancy and get right down to business. So, like I say, you see the chainsaw come in, and she goes right to work. Meanwhile, there's other elements at play because somebody else has been trying to call in. And after Erica gets done fighting the monster, we do see that somebody is calling in, and Erica is sitting there talking to a voice known as Aaron. Now, if you've read longer in the series, you know who that is.
I don't.
But trust me, that character is just as impactful as the story goes on. But the final image that we see is Erica sitting on top of the monster and saying, "No, that was the mother. There are more out here. We need to kill everything here because this town isn't going to survive." And then that's where it ends for this issue.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I mean, Matt, when you're seeing this final image, like, what's going through your head?
Well, of course you're like, it wasn't that easy. She's not just going to go in there and kill it and that be that. It's never going to be a happy ending. And this story overall isn't going to ever be a happy ending, but it's great. You're hooked. At this point, you're hooked. Oh, you're just like, damn, that was an epic fight sequence. Now there's more. She's in over her head. You got this mysterious voice on the phone. You're absolutely just hooked at this point, and you're dying for more.
And then
No,
literally, that's what it was. It's just, and then that's where it left off, and that was really smart. I think that the whole idea of having the voice over the phone and getting to see the tattoo and everything, there's some certain symbolism in that, which I really enjoyed, and it ties back to the organization itself. If you want, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're based on the Order of St. George, and, you know, I always like seeing how we can get real life things in comic books. And St. George actually is a Roman Catholic saint who was known for slaying dragons. In 14th century, there was a really nice, beautiful painting of it, and as a matter of fact, he's called George the Dragon Slayer. So to see that their tattoo is based around that, and I would even say that those masks are probably big old grins of dragons.
I would say you're probably on the right path. And it really just kind of goes into just how detailed this organization is that has been around for, you know, centuries. And then, like I say, to have it end like that, where we do hear the voice of Aaron Slaughter calling in, and Erica is sitting there trying to explain what's going on. Meanwhile, there was somebody else that tipped off the sheriff that we don't know who exactly that is yet. You know, there's a lot more plots that are going on, but for the initial 5 issues, they really packed in a very contained story that if you don't leave hooked by the end of issue 5 with that last panel, they failed. And I really think that they nailed it right out of the park.
Yep, I'm hooked.
Yeah. So we said a lot of the good things we liked. What is there, Matt, is there anything you really didn't like about this?
Honestly, not really. There wasn't any. I mean, if I really had to nitpick, it's all right. You're just plot devices. You know, your stereotypical plot devices. You have the dumb jock. You have the kid. You know, if you're really nitpicking. But even then, I feel like they made sense to drive the story along in a clever way. It wasn't just your normal stereotypical. They actually served a purpose. So I don't really have anything that I'm just like, because there's a lot to love. You're hooked. There's depth to each character. There's mystery and intrigue. You can see there's more than just to killing monsters. There's a whole other thing going on. And so I really struggle to find anything that's like, meh.
Oh, that's fair. Tom?
Displaced closeted gay aggression.
Okay.
I had a problem with that, but that's what you come to expect, especially if you're going to do the small town vibe and then all of a sudden there's just at a left and blah 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 yada yada yada. I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, because they just want to give that story to James and how he was in love with Noah, one of the other boys that were over at the slumber party. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they just kind of tie in just about how much emotional he was tied to this. And in fact, they even goes to play into when the monster kills Noah right in front of him and just how traumatizing that is. So, I mean, I had no problem with that. Honestly, for me, this is damn near perfect. I think if there was anything... But I'm much like you, Matt. I'd have to really nitpick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say in issue 3 where we spent so much time about the other survivor, Beyond, when seeing her sequence happen, it I don't want to say it felt forced, but it was here it is, and then we don't talk about it until issue 5, and it was going that spending that much time to do it. I thought that was just maybe okay. If we're going to do that, then maybe we should touch upon it in issue 4 a little more.
And the other one is Slaughter. That's a little too on the nose. If you're going to have a monster hunter, not Slaughter. That's just me. I think that's a little too 80s. I'm
Sergeant
such and
Slaughter
such guy.
approves.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, exactly. You're just giving something the name for the sake of the name, not any type of deal or depth behind it. Now there could be down in any of the further issues of why their whole last names are Slaughter or something in the world building, but I think that was just a cop out for me.
Well, I will say this without giving anything away. I think that you'll see as you progress in the story, there's a lot more details to come. So
There's a reason
but for
behind
the-
everything.
Yeah. Like I say, the further along you go in this story, and like I say, they're only in issue 30,
33 drops
now?
tomorrow.
33. 33.
drops tomorrow.
Like I say, they still got a long ways to go. I've heard rumors that it's only slated to go 75 issues. Then, like I say, I can't confirm that. I've heard just, from other fans that have said that, yeah, allegedly it's supposed to go 75. But still, for what they're doing, they really nail the point of doing the slow burn drama. And really, you think about what they did just with 5 issues out of nowhere, too. They really put together this captivating mystery about who is Erica Slaughter, what is her organization, why is she killing monsters, and really just gave fans enough to get hooked, and then obviously lock you in by the end of issue 5 that you want to come see issue 6 immediately. And I think that's just something to Tynion's writing, and I say Werther Delirious, artwork, like I say, just phenomenal, with Morito on the inks. Just putting everything together and really giving this such a dark grungy feel for a horror film, but didn't go over the top with it. I think everything was so leveled on it that honestly I did not see anything I really didn't like.
And not only for like you're saying the dark and grungy part, a lot of times, especially in horror, artists will tend to stay in those muted tones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll tend to stay in browns and grays and steels and slate colors. This one had just the right amount of blues, and it really did make it a little bit more lively and more lived in than more of us watching from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Fully agree. So
Because art.
before we sign off on it, I mean, Matt, what is your grade on volume 1 of Something is Killing the Children by Boom Studios?
Man, you already know. 5 out of 5 cigars for me. I loved it. I would really have to really. Tom, what was that face?
I was reading something.
Oh, it looked like you were like, oh, what? No, but seriously though, I loved this story. I was hooked. I love a good horror, and I love a good horror that has depth. That isn't just needless. All right, we're just killing people to kill. We're just driving the story along. This had a lot of intrigue to it, and I was hooked. So yeah, for me, it was easily 5 out of 5.
Tom?
I will give it on my scale an 8.5 out of 10. Again, I'm not the biggest guy into horror, and I think that a few things for the first volume were a little bit obviously tropey. So, I can't give it a solid 10 because it's one of those, saw that coming kind of idea. So that's for me. It's an 8.5.
For me, like I say, Tynion's writing is phenomenal throughout. And he does, and I've said this time and time again, and I say this with every book he does primarily, he is the master of the slow burn drama. And what he does is he really hooks you in as a reader. And, like I said, with Werther del Herrera's writing, and I apologize for messing the name up earlier, like I say, with his artwork and putting that together and giving this vivid imagery of what is happening with the series, and especially with the team behind it, it really puts together just such a vivid image and what you want to see in modern horror, but it doesn't really feel like that until you start seeing the monster come about. And it does touch more on the psychological aspect, because when you're seeing the reaction of those in the town, that's the real horrific part, because they don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing Erica come in, and she's unfazed by this because she's seen so much of this.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah. So when you start seeing this play out, it just is so captivating that, yeah, there might be like a moment here, a moment there that you're kind of like, I don't know if I really, see where that fits in. But by the time you get to that final image of her just sitting on top of the dead monster on the phone, talking to Aaron and saying like, no, we have to go kill everything. This is just the mother. That is the moment that I have seen and I've read something absolutely fantastic. And like I say, I could not wait to pick up issue 6 after I was done reading it. So for my grade, a very strong 9.5 out of 10. I think this is very near perfect. Like I say, there's a couple things here and there, but nothing that would ever make me say like, nope, I'm out. Like, this is something that I have been reading ever since. And as you start progressing further in the story, you're going to have more emotional gut punches and really just get behind Erica Slaughter as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now with what's going on with her and a certain character that has really tested her to the limits. One of my favorite villains over the past year. It's been excellent reading.
You are trying so hard not to spoil it for me.
It's
aren't
hard.
Yes, I am.
You? Okay.
It's hard because Matt knows exactly who I'm talking about, and she is one of my favorite villains of this year.
He gave away a spoiler.
Yeah, well, like I say, if you're picking it up, as you should, you obviously know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, like I say, that's 9.5 for me. So before we get out of here, we got to get everybody's picks for New Comic Book Day, and we do have an announcement at the end of the show. So, Matt, why don't you kick us off? What should we be looking for at the comic shops this week?
Man, first things first, Tom King has a new Wonder Woman run coming out tomorrow, and that should be at the top of everybody's list, straight up. Get your hands on that. That's coming out. Came out today, I guess, technically today's New Comic Book for DC.
It's technically today. I got the review up on Nerd Initiative right now,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, get your hands on that. And then, of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Stranger Things has issue 3 out right now on their limited run. That is a really fun series. If you are a fan of like just 80s vibes, Stranger Things, TMNT, this is the comic book for you, because honestly, the writing adds a lot of depth to some characters from Stranger Things that you don't necessarily get in the show, which is why I'm really enjoying this run a little bit more. And so you got to pick that up. And then, of course, just like we talked about, Something is Killing the Children, issue 33, the standoff at the Great Corral, part 3, that's out tomorrow. So lots of great comic books coming out. Make sure you get your hands on them.
Tom?
For me, another number 1 coming out tomorrow is we get another Spider-Man with a different adjective or an adverb or whatever the heck it is, another descriptory words. We're getting the uncanny.
Oh,
that's right. That is
Spider-Man.
tomorrow.
That's right. We're going to be crawling up those walls, but not with Peter Parker. With a guy who crawls through the night. Kurt Wagner is going to be the new Spider-Man.
Ooh, that's going to be a good series. I can't wait to pick that up.
I just love the suit design. I saw a few of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Like, I pulled it up here on the screen just to tell Ken, like, this is the one I'm picking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you to spoil it. This is the one I just want to go that it's uncanny. And the fact that we're tying in that, yes, he is a mutant and he's from the X-Men, and we're taking that uncanny X-Men and dropping it into uncanny Spider-Man, I think it sticks with me.
Oh, no, it's absolutely perfect. Like, I love the suit design. Everything about that book just seems like it's going to be a real lot of fun, so I'm excited to go check that out. For me, there's a couple that definitely are jumping out. New Captain America drops tomorrow from Marvel. J. Michael Straczynski, I believe, is on the writing duties, so I will definitely be checking that out. Also from Image Comics, Noctera, number 16. Yeah. Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel is wrapping up the current No Break story arc, which if you haven't picked that book up, it's a hell of a read. And it's going to be one that, like I say, I'm not sure what's going to be going down, but with those two getting together, it's always magic happening.
Does that mean we need to do another Scott Snyder-based episode if this arc is coming to a close?
We can. There's another book of Scott's that I want to do first, but I'll bring that up later in the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something. But definitely, I would not mind talking Noctera at some point. Just a very cool story, and like I said, Daniel's artwork is just absolutely phenomenal. Also, Boom Studios.
Boom.
Grimm number 13 is dropping. Stephanie Phillips Flaviano. Grimm is not just a comic; it's a vibe. Like seriously, it is one of the most visually impressive books every time out. The story is fantastic, and like I say, I saw the cover. I don't want to give it away, but I'm bracing for like an emotional gut punch. Like just seeing it, I'm just like, because if you've been following what's going on, it looks like we're going to get some answers to some questions that I've been waiting to see for a couple issues now, and I'm bracing for impact.
Will it lead to more questions?
It probably
Always
will,
does.
but I'm excited for it. So definitely a lot to pick up at the comic shops this week. Like I say, DC's got a real strong week. We also got Marvel has a real good week too. Boom Studios always dropping great stuff. So you definitely don't want to miss them. Image Comics doing big things. IDW Publishing, Dark Horse. Like I say, there's so much good stuff to pick up at the comic shops. You don't want to miss it. So that's why you hit that QR code that just popped up. New Comic Book Day reviews every week starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And also DC gets the Tuesday run. So I got 4 up there right now for Wonder Woman, number 1, Nightwing 106, Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 19, and Superman, number 6. So if you're looking for some DC books, we got you covered there. And then also, kicking off at 9 a.m. tomorrow, you got the best of the best from the indies and the majors coming at you from nerdinitiative.com and the Bullpen. Because trust me, if you're not reading what we're doing each and every week, you really need to fix that. Because, I mean, we are giving you a lot of great recommendations. I've heard nothing but fantastic feedback from you. So thank you, Nerd Initiative Nation, letting us know what you're picking up at the comic shops. Because, like I say, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about as well. But before we get out of here, we did have a contest this past weekend talking
about Batman.
Yes. And I'm happy.
I did it first.
Yep. And I'm happy to say we have a winner to announce and to really kind of break down what we were doing, because obviously this weekend was Batman Day on Saturday. And we have the winner of the vote about what story we're going to talk about on Turn a Page. And that is Nightfall.
I'm looking forward to this because I'm familiar with it. I know about it, but I have never read it. Like, I know the characters, I know the this, I know the that, and that's why I love doing this show, because I get to finally learn these damn things.
Yes.
Sorry, had a moment.
So I will explain. Nightfall, obviously being such a lengthy story, we will split into 2 parts. ...
We get a ...
Yes, we get a ...
Be continued.
We will have a be continued, but the voting was so tight between Nightfall and A Death in the Family.
Was it 75 votes?
It was close. It was really close.
If anybody gets that, I appreciate it.
Yes. So we're definitely going to be doing Death in a Family on the show at some point. Back in the stream, thank you very much, because, technical difficulties. It's not a turn a page unless something pops in. But we're back. See, that's what happens. When you have a show that's so popular, the internet sometimes breaks. I don't make the rules, folks. I just go by them.
We need something from Wayne Tech.
Yes, we do. So with the Wayne Tech, and in case we just ducked out, just to remind everybody, Nightfall will be 2 parts. That's what you wanted us to cover. We are definitely going to hook you up with that. But the voting was so close. Death in a Family.
To you, the
Yes.
people.
Well played. But Death in a Family is going to be covered on the show, and I think we're going to dive into Hush too, because I was having a lot of people mention the book, and they're like, we really would love to see you talk about this.
And on top of it, let's also give a big, huge shout out to our winner, Josh Scott, for being the guy who won, because, cheers to him. And we love all these contests. We want to keep doing these contests. Interact, get in touch with us on social medias. Make sure that, we're this is the proof positive of exactly that we're here for you and you're here for us. And we want to keep that symbiotic relationship. Like, can I get it? You know, we want to make sure we're doing this for you out here, you know, internet, like talk with us. Let us know what comic books you want us to do. That's what we're here for. I mean, it doesn't just all have to be about us. It's about you just as equal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. This is an interactive show. That's why we try throwing in the chat. Brad, appreciate you chiming in there, and everybody else is lurking. Like, seriously, jump in the chat. We ask you to be involved. That's what we like to see. Brad. Yes, we do. We do like Brad. Shout out to All Dice Go to Jail, too, by the way. We'll give you a plug about that.
I know those guys on there.
Yes.
I am one of those guys on there.
But like Tom was saying, we want you to interact with us, so definitely hit us up on that QR code that you see at the bottom of the screen. Contact us. Let us know what stories you want to see us talk about on Turn a Page.
Hey Matt, can you point at the QR code? Because I can't anymore.
Right here.
Yes.
Thanks.
Up there. Oh, no. We lost him again. Ken's having difficulties, everybody. But make sure you absolutely go ahead, scan the QR code. Let us know what you want to do. And it helps us read some really, really, really great comic books. And let's hope that Ken comes back. Because nobody can wrap the show up as well as Ken can. Right. So there we
Good
go.
Job,
he's
Bannon.
back. Oh, he's gone again. There he is.
We're gone, but we are back. So that must mean that Wayne
OMAC
Tech
is coming.
Is trying to shut us down. Somebody heard about Turn a Page, and they're
Turn
like,
the lights off.
Yep, they're turning the lights off. So we got to wrap this up very, very quickly. So Matt, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and everything going on with Hops Geeks News?
1000% right here, baby. That's the word. Go ahead, find us, Hops Geek News, any podcasting platform, any social media platform, whatever's left out there. I'm trying to keep up with them all. Hopefully I'll be getting back into the rhythm here soon. It felt great to be back in the chair tonight, hanging out, talking some great comic books. And yeah, if you liked what we did here tonight, come subscribe. This is what we do on the show. We actually just dropped a Dark Knight Returns comic book centric episode on Hops Geek News where Lauren and I discussed the comic book by Frank Miller. So check us out.
Absolutely. You definitely want to check out everything that's going on at Hops Geeks News, and especially that interview they did with Christian Ward, too, for City of Madness. Absolute fire. Absolute fire. Tom, let them know.
You're going to find me everywhere right here on the QR code. That's right. And also on top of it, I am happy and proud to announce that I, too, will also be joining all these fine young folks at New York Comic-Con. I will be going under my own banner, but still, I will be there for you guys reporting live from the NYCC 23.
And that's awesome news to hear because we got a whole group that's going down from Nerd Initiative and the ODPH. So it's going to be definitely fun times had by all there. So if you want to find out everything going on with me and the ODPH team, simple, swing on over to odphpodcast.com or hit that QR code. See, that's how simple we make it for you. It's just a boom, click, and done. And that's how we do.
Don't forget that other QR code. 2 days left. It is red hot right now. Inferno Girl Red Volume 2. Get on it.
Yes, you definitely don't want to miss that. And like I say, throwing up the quick plug. Also for Wrestling Night Live, which is going to be going on Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to talk pro wrestling, you've just found your home for that as well. So we got a lot of stuff going on with that. Rich and the whole team of NI Wrestling is going to be breaking down the latest in WWE, AEW, much, much more. So you definitely want to drop that follow, drop that subscribe on Nerd Initiative YouTube, and make that happen, folks, because we're here putting a lot of work in for you as well. So we'll just end it like this, as we always do. When you're at a comic shop and you see somebody struggling to pick up a great issue and you got one that is absolute fire in your hands, such as Something is Killing Children by Boom Studios, hand it off to them. Tell them to turn the page. We'll see you next time.